So let's start with the topic preamble. Preamble to the Constitution. It's very important for UPSC civil services examination in all the segments, whether it be the prelims exams, mains exams, or be it the interview. If you can look to the prelims examination, every year around 10 to 15 questions come from polity, Indian polity. In mains examination, the core concepts which are mentioned in preamble, such as the nature of the state, the core constitutional concepts such as liberty, equality, fraternity, UPSC keep asking questions around this topic. For example, it asks that in the light of preamble, explain the recent Supreme Court judgment on right to privacy. So until and unless you know what is written in the Constitution, what does those terminologies which are used, socialist, sovereign, secular, democratic, republic, until and unless you know the real meaning of those terms, you will not be able to answer properly in the mains examination. Now, in interview, they try to know how much depth you have regarding the constitutional issues. In that, it is very important to mention preamble wherever you found, because see, the basic thing is, if you see the Constitution, the whole Constitution and each and every provision, not only the philosophical part, which contains the fundamental right, DPSP, fundamental duties, not only this part. If you will see all the provisions, whether it be the special provisions for several states, whether it be the special provisions for the administration of scheduled areas, the other kind of areas, tribal areas, whether it be election commission, whether it be the amendment, all are based in the preamble. Now we are going to form a link how, for example, election commission is linked with preamble. What is the duty of election commission? To conduct transparent election within the country. Until and unless we have a election commission which conducts the transparent election in the country, do you really think the ideals of democracy and republic can be achieved? Democracy and republic shows the nature of the state. Indian state is a democratic state. Indian state is a republican state. That means the head of the government in India is an elected representative of the people. It's not monarchical democracy where we have a hereditary king, but we have a president who is elected by the member of the parliaments and the members of the legislative assemblies. These member of parliaments and the members of the legislative assemblies are elected by the people. So in turn, who becomes the sovereign in India? People are sovereign, who elects their government, who in turn elects their president, the head of the state. So this function of election is looked after by election commission. So what I mean to say here is every provision of the Constitution is linked with preamble, not only the fundamental rights and the directive principles. So preamble becomes a very important issue for you to understand in your daily life, not only from the perspective of the examination. But if you look from the perspective of the examination, again, prelims and mains exams contain a lot of questions which you can directly address by mentioning preamble, or can solve the objective type answers if you have the knowledge on preamble. So preamble, if you try to understand this, what is preamble? Is it the part of the Constitution or not the part of the Constitution? This is the first question. So over the period of time, Supreme Court in its judgment many times have said that this preamble is very much the integral part of the Constitution. It cannot be separated. It is the integral part of the Constitution. This is the first thing. Second thing which comes up, if this is the integral part, what does it contain? Content क्या है इसका, अंदर क्या लिखा हुआ है? So it has several things. According to few political scientists, it is the identity card of the Constitution. It is the identity card of the Constitution. This identity card tells about the nature of the state. Nature of state. What is the nature of Indian state? It is sovereign. It is socialist, secular, democratic republic. It is not monarchical. It is republic. It is democratic. India has been a secular country from a long time, but 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act in 1976 has added the word secular to make this concept explicit. It was implicit. Our country from a long time was a secular country. And it is surrounded by all the countries. If you see Pakistan, if you see Bangladesh, if you see Myanmar, or if you see Nepal and Sri Lanka, all have their official religions. State have the official religion. It is only India which is secular in this region.
See the example of Sangam literature also.
Even from that time, India is secular. From Sangam literature time, it is secular. So what is wrong in explicitly mentioning in the preamble? There's nothing wrong. So by 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976, this word, the addition of the word secular was made expressive. So this tells about the nature of the state. Indian state is socialist in nature, secular in nature. We are not capitalist economy. We are socialist economy. There's a huge difference between the capitalist market and the socialist market. India is a welfare state. So first thing, what does an identity card tells you? It tells you about the name. What is your name? Second thing, it tells you about the position you hold in the company. Third thing, very important, it tells about from which company do you belong. So it gives the basic information of what you are. Sometimes it happens, no, your ID card is found somewhere on the road. Even if you are not there, somebody picks that ID card just by looking at your name or the company's name. If he is willing, he is going to deliver that ID card to the right place. That is the thing. Just by looking at the preamble, you can tell what the constitution of the country contains. So it contains the first thing, nature of the state. Second thing, the core constitutional value. Core constitutional values. What are the core constitutional values? Indian polity, Indian democracy, Indian state is based on the concepts of natural justice. Every human being here has been provided with several constitutional and human values, which are justice, liberty, equality, and fraternity. These becomes the core constitutional values. What kind of justice do we have? We have social, economic, political. What kind of liberty do we have? Liberty of thought, liberty of expression, liberty of faith, belief, and worship. So we'll see these elements in detail in the coming time. Then the third element, what the identity card to the constitution tells about, is the date of enactment. What does the word enactment means? Enactment means to pass any law. What is the date of enactment of the constitution? It is the 26th of November 1949. On the day 26th of November 1949, if you read the constitution and if you study it properly, it is written that on this day of 26th of November 1949, we do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this constitution. Adopt, enact, and give to ourselves. What is the date of enforcement of the constitution? That is different. The constitution was enforced on 26th of January 1950, but it was adopted, enacted, and enforced, given to ourselves on 26th day of November of the year 1949. What does the meaning of the word enact means here? To pass a law. That simply means we had a constitution and now we are passing it as a law. There is the organic law of the land. On this day of the 26th of November 1949, we are making it as the primary, the fundamental and the organic law of the land. From 1949 till 1950, 26th of January, we just waited for the constitution to be enforced. So the date of enactment is given. And the most important thing, the source of power. From where the constitution derives the power. Is the president the most powerful authority in India? Or the prime minister? Or the local panchayat, sarpanch? और आपके घर के आगे रहने वाला पार्षद? या फिर लोग खुद? Who is the most prominent sovereign authority in India? If you see the concept in England, they have a hereditary system of parliament which is called as the monarchical democracy. They have a monarchical democracy. So the head of the state in Britain is the king or the queen, whatever it may be. So in a polity like England, what becomes the sovereign power? It is the Parliament of Britain which is sovereign. But in India, neither the Parliament, nor the judiciary, nor the executive, nor the president, nobody is sovereign, but it is the people of India who are sovereign. So the sovereign power in India is the people. And from here, we derive the whole power. Now, how is it proved in the constitution? How is it proved in the preamble? Look at the initial words. We, the people of India, here do solemnly resolve to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic and to uphold the core constitutional values and the ideals of justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. And on this day of 26th of November 1949, again, adopt, enact and give to ourselves. Give to ourselves. Look at, we the people of India give this constitution to ourselves. What does it prove? It proves that the source of power are nobody but the people. So the source of power in the Indian constitution are people. These are the one who elect the government. These are the one who run the country. We the people of India. Similarly, if you see and if we compare Indian preamble with the preamble to the Constitution of the United States, it starts with the same wordings, we the people of the United States. But Indian preamble is quite exhaustive. It talks about too many things. Core constitutional values are discussed in detail. Social, economic, political, liberty means thought, expression, belief. But if you see the Constitution of the United States, let us just see what they have written. People of the USA. They say we are going to come together for common defense. Common defense of the country, for the welfare of the country, for liberty, for tranquility. These are the things they are mentioning, but they are missing on one, and also justice, liberty and justice, welfare, for common defense, and also to make the union stronger. Union stronger. But they miss out on one thing, equality. Now, this was made in 1774 in Philadelphia. In 1774, slavery was prevalent in the United States, and if they write the word equality in the preamble, the whole preamble will shatter. So they escaped the word equality. But the recent judgments, when the slavery was abolished in the United States, and after that, the word equality has been the core fundamental value of the United States Constitution also, and it is a big movement in the United States to give rights. We have this concept of equal protection of law, which is coming from the United States. The affirmative actions given to the downtrodden. In United States, the downtrodden are the blacks and the native people and the red people. Similarly, in India, they are different. We have caste differences. We have differences based on gender and communities, different sections and factions. So, as per the history of the land, the constitution is made. At that point in time, it was necessary for the United States to create a stronger union. They wanted to fight against Britain and become a stronger union within themselves, because their polity is a bit different from Indian polity. So, no need to discuss the preamble of the United States, but the only thing is they just mention these few ideas in a paragraph. Whereas Indian constitution, the preamble to the Indian constitution is bit exhaustive. It talks about many things. So we have already seen what is the source of power in India. It is the people. Let us look at the nature of state. What is the nature of state in India? It is sovereign, it is socialist, secular, democratic, republic. This is the nature of state in India. Indian state is sovereign. So what do we understand by the concept sovereignty? In plain simple language, sovereignty is the ability of the country to conduct its own business without being pressurized by any external force. That means if Indian Parliament has to pass any law on whatever subject, it can pass without being pressurized by any external force. India has been subjugated by the British rule for about 200 years, and after that, when we have made our own constitution, it was necessary to emphasize on the word sovereignty, that we are not now subjugated. This constitution is not a gift given to us by the British Parliament or the British people. Like the earlier acts of 1935, Government of India Act of 1919, and the Council Acts and the Charter Acts, in which they used to expand the union and give several rights to the Indian. They were considered as gifts given by the British Parliament. But now we are sovereign. We have our own constituent assembly in which Indians make their own law, and we have passed this law, which is called the Constitution. And on the basis of that Constitution, we have made several other laws. How many laws we have? So many. PMLA, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, Companies Act, Indian Penal Code. It has been adjusted according to the Constitution of India, Civil Procedure Code, Criminal Procedure Code, although it was made earlier, but it has been adjusted according to the Constitution of India, that any of the law made after the Constitution became a primary law in India, those law must not in any way, shape or form infringe any article of the Constitution of India, especially the core values mentioned in the preamble. So, sovereignty is the ability of the country to do its own business without being pressurized. Again, we have seen this is one form of sovereignty. The internal sovereignty, we look at it. Who are sovereign in India? It is the people of India. Now, one question comes up. During the time we became independent, just after that, we have joined the British Commonwealth. Now, it was considered as a decision taken by the then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, and he faced too much of opposition within the country, because people in that point created huge hue and cry, saying that we have came out of the British yoke after 200 years and again you want to go under the British crown, saying that we just want to be the part of this British Commonwealth. But it has been beautifully put by the then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru that we are becoming the member of this organization at our will, and we will terminate the membership if it is required on our will. At our will, on our will. This shows the sovereignty of the nation. This shows that we are joining this British Commonwealth. not as a gift being given to us, but at our own will. We doesn't want to savor the relation we had with British people immediately after we got the independence. We wanted to continue because this is one of the cornerstone of our foreign policy. If you look, that our relation with the West started with England and then spread it throughout Europe and then to the United States. So this has been a wonderful cornerstone and important element in the foreign policy of India, where we started being the member of the British Commonwealth. And see the contribution India have played. This British Commonwealth, its character have changed after that. It has become the Commonwealth of Nation. The word British is removed. Now, how does it look? Commonwealth of Nation. Although the head of the Commonwealth of Nation is the king, but that doesn't mean we are surrendering our sovereignty to the king. Later on, we have become member of so many organizations. India still have, there are regional organizations, international organizations, United Nations, for example. Does complying with the conventions passed under the United Nations in any way, shape or form hurt the sovereignty of the country? I don't think so. For example, there are also Basel norms. Basel norms regulate the character and the function of the reserve banks or the national banks of the country throughout the world. India is also a part of it. All the national banks throughout the world has to follow the Basel norms. So is it hurting the sovereignty of the country? It is not hurting the sovereignty of the country. Why? Because this has been done for the common good of the world. Common good of the world. If let's say some law has been passed in relation to wetlands, or for the conservation of the national parks, or for reduction of carbon emission in the world, and India takes that convention or the international law as it is and applies it to our national law, will it become an issue of sovereignty? No. Why? Because India is just trying to comply by the international standards. In the modern world, we have to run according to the international arena. We cannot be separated from the world and now say we are sovereign. In this way, we will become North Korea. They are separate from the world. They only know one thing, their own king. They do not know what's going on in the world. Then, if we become like that, separate from the world, there will be no meaning of liberty, equality and fraternity within the country, because whatever the politicians will teach us and allow us to see, that will become the norm and the value of the nation. So, sovereignty, again, to clarify the concept, the people in India are sovereign and the state of India is also sovereign, means it can conduct its own business. The Parliament of India can pass any law which it wants. The few issues which are happening, for example, recently the Balochistan area of Pakistan was attacked by Iran. Is it the issue of sovereignty being infringed? Yes, that is the issue of sovereignty being infringed. In retaliation, Pakistan also attacked some part of Iran. That is called the hurting of sovereignty of a nation without asking, without any permission. You are entering some nation, the boundary of that nation, creating some ruckus and then coming back. So, terrorism against India, is this the issue where we can say our sovereignty has been hurt? Of course. Look at the Mumbai terrorist attack. The terrorist enters India, kills people. That is, of course, playing with the sovereignty of the nation. Now, take one more example. The Sri Lankan government asks the Indian military to enter Sri Lanka and fight against Litte. Can it be considered as hurting the sovereignty of Sri Lanka? No, because they are inviting us. That's another issue. So, you have to look all the issues in the light of sovereignty. Now, I think you will be getting the idea what I was telling in the beginning, that everything in the constitution, and how the constitution is conducted and how the laws are made and interpreted are linked to the preamble. Now coming to the second word called socialist. What does socialist means? Socialist. So this was added in the preamble in the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976. What does socialism means? Socialism, or the philosophy of socialism, or the word socialist here, means to finish or to make the country or the classes within it equal. That simply means it is a philosophy which is against inequality. Inequality. This is very much prevalent in India. It was prevalent in India during the freedom struggle also, after the freedom struggle also, when we adopted and enforced our constitution. Even in that time, the inequality in the society was prevalent. So the word socialism was inserted to put emphasis on the welfare state. Put emphasis on the welfare state, which Indian state is. What is the role of welfare state? To reduce or to eliminate inequality. If a state is unable to eliminate inequality, the other factors such as liberty, fraternity will be of no use. They will only be high ideals without any core into it. So it was important that India becomes a welfare state and tries to eliminate the inequality. This ideology or this idea is reflected from the word socialist, which has been inserted by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act in 1976. What kind of inequalities are there in India? If you see, there are social inequalities, there are economic inequalities, and it also talks about the political inequality. While we were giving the constitution to ourselves, means the people were giving constitution to themselves, we have already eliminated the political inequality in the country. What does political equality means? Political equality simply means one man is equal to one vote. The vote of a rich man, of a higher class man, or of a man of a particular religion will not carry more value. So one man and the vote cast by that one man, and man includes women, will be equal to one vote. This is political equality. Also, we will have adult suffrage. That simply means there will be an electoral roll in which the name of all the eligible people who are ready and who are willing, and not only willing and ready, but who are eligible. What is the eligibility? Above 18 years and must be the citizen of India. Those who are the citizen of India and above 18 years will be the part of the electoral roll, and they are eligible to give vote. Willingness comes afterwards. If you are not willing to give vote, you are doing wrong to the country. That's another thing. But the eligibility criteria is you should be the citizen of India and you should be above 18 years of age. This age limit was 21 years, but it was reduced to 18 years by 69th Constitutional Amendment Act in 1989 by the Rajiv Gandhi government. So anybody who is of 18 year of age and is the citizen of India. Now, when you make an electoral roll, there is no separate electorate. That does not mean that Muslims have a separate electorate and Hindus have a separate electorate, or a separate list is for the higher class people and a separate list is there for the lower class people. All the people, does not matter from which religion, race, caste, sex, gender or origin or descent they belong to, they all come in the same electoral roll. Everybody who is the citizen of India and above 18 years of age are eligible to give vote. That is called political equality, that has been given to the citizens of India right from the beginning. Right from the beginning. But when we look at the social and economic inequality, several provisions has been made in the constitution, in the directive principle of state policy, also in the fundamental right, to eliminate the social and economic inequality in the country. For example, Article 14 says there should be equal protection of law and equality before law in the country. Second thing, Article 15 tells, it gives several grounds like religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, and it says that nobody in the country must be discriminated on the basis of these grounds. Nobody must be discriminated on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth. Article 16 tells that in the matter of public employment and appointments, nobody must be discriminated on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, descent and residence. Along with it, Article 17 abolishes the untouchability totally, legally. Anybody who practices untouchability is committing a crime. Similarly, Article 18 of the Constitution abolishes that the state must not give special titles, and the exception is made for titles based on merit and military titles, but nobody must be kept in a special category by the state. All these provisions have been made to create social equality in the country, because country has been divided on so many fronts. We see country was there is inequality based on religion, inequality based on caste, inequality based on sex, inequality based on the origin of the person. So to figure out a solution for this inequality, several provisions have been made in the constitution, and how it is reflected in the preamble through the word socialist, also through the word democratic and republic. We'll come to these words, how the word democratic and republic abolishes the inequality within the country. Similarly, political equality applies here. But before political equality, think about it. If you do not have social equality in the country, then what is the use of political equality in the country? The political equality will be of some use only when the country is socially equal, when it is not divided factionally or sectionally, or based on the religion and race and caste and other things. Similarly, the economic inequality is of great use. What do we mean by economic inequality? Economic inequality means equality in terms of income, status, opportunity, and standard of living. Indira Awas Yojana, Rajiv Awas Yojana, or some of the housing schemes, the names keep on changing as the government changes, but these schemes have been made to do what? To raise the standard of living of the people. We are trying to make provision for health, for education. What it is doing? It is trying to eliminate the economic inequality in the country. The poor people are pushed into poverty when they are poor, and at the same time they face any disease because too much money is spent. So the welfare state comes into play. Welfare state helps the people to maintain this equality, economic equality, by helping people economically to overcome their health issues, to overcome the education issues in the country. If a man and a woman is working on the same post, but man is paid more, that tells about the economic inequality in the country. So there are provisions in directive principle of state policy which tells that there has to be just and humane behavior at the workplace, and also equal pay for equal work must be confirmed by the state. So this is how the state tries to eliminate the economic inequality in the country. The status, if let's say a clerk in a bank is a Brahman, and at the same time there is another clerk who belongs to the downtrodden class or is a Dalit, does they have the same status? Of course they have the same status, and it must be ensured. That's also a part of the economic inequality, which is very much coupled with the social inequality in the country. So the political equality only have some meaning when we have the social and economic inequality in the country. We have to eliminate political, social and economic inequality at the same time in the country. And how these things are done? It is done by making several provisions which has already been made under the fundamental right, under the directive principle of state policy, and some of the fundamental duties of the citizen also reflect that they should contribute to make the country more equitable. So I hope you understand this concept of socialist word being inserted in the constitution, and why was it inserted? Welfare state, what does it do? It tries to eliminate the inequality. What kind of inequality? Social, economic and political. Now let us come to the word secular. It was also inserted by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976. Before the 42nd Constitutional Amendment 1976, the front line was, we the people of India solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign democratic republic. But then in 1976, these two words were added so as to give more gravity to the preamble of the country. One thing I would like to mention here, if you compare the Indian preamble of the Indian Constitution with the preamble of the constitutions of the United States or Australia or Canada, this preamble, the Indian Constitution preamble, is far more exhaustive. It not only outlines the nature of the state, this is the nature of the state. It not only outlines the nature of the state, but it also tells about the core constitutional values in detail. What does the preamble of the United States expresses? The preamble of the United States expresses the few words: liberty, tranquility among the people of the United States, tranquility. Then the word common, defense. It also outlines the word welfare state, making the union more stronger, but it does not include the word equality because of the state of the United States at that point in time where slavery was practiced. The word equality is not mentioned in the preamble of the United States, although later on when the slavery was abolished, this word equality became a reality in the United States, and now the courts in the United States are very stringent on the concept of equality, and also the public is far more sensitive about this issue. But this is how, if we see, we the people of the United States trying to make the union more stronger with giving it a common defense, and it will be a welfare state which will have tranquility among people and will have liberty. This is how it is, like in one paragraph, the preamble of the to the Constitution of the United States is done with. But when you look at the Constitution of India, which is itself very exhaustive document, the preamble is also very exhaustive in India. It tells about the nature and the core constitutional values in the country. Now let us move to another topic, the word secular. As we already know, by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act, the word secular was inserted in the constitution. What does the word secular means? It means that the state has no official religion. The state has no official religion. It also says that the state will protect all the religions equally. So the state does not have any official religion, and state will protect all the religions equally. So India is surrounded by Pakistan, which has declared Islam as a official religion of the state. Then Burma, then Nepal, and around, if we see Bangladesh, all the states around India, all the countries around India, all the nations around India have some or the other official religion of the state. But India, being a secular country, has not adopted any single religion as its official religion, and all the religions are equally protected and respected in India. The word secular, when it was inserted in 1976, made the implicit issue an explicit issue. That simply means before 1976, India wasn't secular. No. India was secular even before 1976. But to make the implicit issue explicit, this word was inserted in the preamble of the country. So, how secularism is practiced in India? We see Article 25 to 28. These are some of the fundamental rights given, and people are free to worship and to practice, propagate and profess any religion of their choice. Also, by Article 15, 14, 16, religion must not be the ground on which discrimination can be made by the state. In public employments or opening up of ghats and public places and other things, religion must not be the basis of discrimination in the country. This is how secularism is practiced in India. It is a bit different from the Western secularism. How? Because in Western secularism, the state is totally separate from religion. But in India, the separation is not there. State can protect the religions also. State can promote the religion also, but not at the cost of any other religion. This is very important to understand. State can also give donations, lands, money and other things to the charitable foundations, to the spiritual foundation, and also to the religious foundation in the country. So, state does not have any official religion. Then the state also protects all the religion within the country, and the citizen has been given the right to propagate, profess and practice any religion of their choice. Whatever way of life they want to have, they can have. That freedom has been given to the people of India under the fundamental rights. And how is it reflected in the preamble? Through the word secular. Now let us come to the democratic and the republic words, which are the basic feature of the constitution. What do we mean by democracy? It is economic, political and social democracy together, where it says again, there has to be equality in income, status and other things. Social means there has to be equality among the classes, among different sections and different factions and different religions. And political democracy simply means that one vote for one person. The adult suffrage and the electoral roll should contain all the eligible candidates who are the citizens of India and above the age of 18. And they are eligible to vote, and the electoral roll is not divided on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex or any other distinction. The electoral roll is one. To vote is the political right in India. It is one of the fundamentals, basic feature of the constitution. To elect our members of legislative assembly, to elect the member of parliament and to run the country is again the right of the people, and it is practiced under the political democracy in India. If we see the system of democracy which we follow, it is the parliamentary form of democracy. It is opposite to presidential form of democracy. This presidential form of democracy runs on the concept of separation of power. Separation of power, that simply means the executive, judiciary and legislative branches are separate from one another. It is not dependent on one another. Whereas in the parliamentary form of government, what we see is there is collective responsibility concept. Collective responsibility. What does collective responsibility means? That the council of minister or the legislative, the real legislative is dependent on the legislature, on the member of parliaments in the Lok Sabha. That simply means that when the people elect their member of parliament in the Lok Sabha, they participate in the elections of the Lok Sabha, and the Lok Sabha is formed, and whichever party gets the majority, that party forms the government, and then they declare the names who are the ministers, also known as the council of ministers, and the head of this council of ministers is the prime minister of the country. The stability of this government, the stability of this majority party which forms the council of minister and the prime minister, means which forms the government, depends on its majority in the house, in the Lok Sabha. So what does it mean? It simply means that the executive have collective responsibility towards the legislature. The executive is based on the legislature. The executive comes from the legislature. It is not separate, but it is an integral part of the legislature. Somebody who is coming from outside, that means the person is not the member of the parliament. If they are the part of the council of ministers, they have to become the member of parliament within 6 months, or else their post will be terminated. So the parliamentary form of government is followed in India. Now this parliament, along with the legislative assemblies, they elect the president, who is the head of the state in India. India is not a monarchical democracy. England, Britain is monarchical democracy, where the hereditary king is the head of the state. In India, we do not have any king who is the head of the state, but we have the president who is the head of the state. This form of government is called as the republican system. Republic means the head of state is elected. The head of the state is elected. The head of the state is not a person who is a hereditary king like in Great Britain. So I hope you understood the nature of the polity in India: sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Now let us come to another topic, which is the core constitutional values which are being mentioned in the preamble. So first is justice. What kind of justice? Social, economic and political. What do you understand by justice? social, economic, political. Again, there shall not be any arbitrariness in equality within the society, and that is true for social justice, that is true for economic justice, and that is true for political justice as well. That means there has to be equality among all the people in the country, and that is ensured through the provisions given in the fundamental right, directive principles of state policy, and also in preamble. How it is reflected in preamble? First, through the concept of the nature of the state, which is socialist in nature and welfare in nature. When it is welfarist in nature, it is going to ensure social, economic, and political inequality. But the basis of all these things is justice. India has to maintain, the government in India has to maintain social, economic, and political justice in the country. There shall not be any discrimination or any arbitrariness based on religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, residence, descent, and any other thing. Similarly, income, status, opportunity, standard of living, they have to be maintained. There must be justice among all. Justice has to be ensured, economic justice also. For example, in a company which have substantial share of the government, if a male is getting more salary than a female, do you think it is equality? It needs justice. Justice means to bring the inequality and to break this inequality and bring the equality in the place of inequality. So what ends up happening is that courts ends up doing the justice. The Supreme Court and the other courts in India, they are the torch bearer of justice. They are the protectors of the fundamental right and the constitution. They are the one organ which sees that all the fundamental right are given to the people of India and are not infringed by the state. So in any way, shape or form, social, economic or political justice is not delivered to the people of India. The people of India can approach the court. Political equality, social equality, economic equality, the same concept which we have discussed a few minutes back. Then the next thing which comes up is liberty. Liberty of thought, liberty of expression, liberty of belief, faith, and worship. Article 19 of the Constitution, which is again a fundamental right of related with the freedom of related with several freedoms. Clause A of Article 19(1) says that there shall be freedom given to the citizens of India, freedom of speech and expression. So you can think, you can express, and you have been given freedom to do this. This is also reflected in the preamble. Under the heading liberty, you have the freedom, you have the liberty to think, express. Without these inherent values, without these inherent rational, logical rights, a human being cannot progress. A human being cannot reach their full potential. You will see less and less of meritocracy in the country if you snatch away these liberties. You are free to follow any religion, profess any religion, propagate any religion, practice any religion, because the liberty to worship, liberty of faith, liberty of belief has been provided to the citizens of India. This is ensured under Article 25 to 28 which are again the fundamental rights. Also Article 16, 15, 14, Article 17, Article 18. Under these articles, religion cannot be a basis to discriminate people. The next important thing, equality of status and opportunity. Again, equality came in. Equality of status, the equality of outcome, the equality, social equality, political equality, economic equality. So all these concepts are intermingled. Justice, social, economic and political. Equality of status and opportunity also involves equality of social equality, economic equality and political equality. Then fraternity. What does this word mean, fraternity? It means some sort of friendship or brotherhood. Fraternity for maintaining the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of nation. Dignity of individual and unity and integrity of the nation. It is very important if you have to maintain the fraternity within the country. It is very important to provide dignity to the individual, and that can only be done when you have social equality, economic inequality, political equality within the country. That can be ensured through social, economic and political justice. So these three words, liberty, equality and fraternity, in order to have dignity of individuals in the country, these three words form a trinity. And they cannot be separated. Liberty and equality cannot be separated from fraternity, and fraternity and equality cannot be separated from liberty. Think of a situation where you give equality and fraternity but snatch liberty. What will happen? If the people do not have liberty, the personal initiative will die. And if you snatch equality and you give the liberty and fraternity, then the power will be in the hand of few people. The power will not be justiciably given to everybody. So it forms a trinity, and one cannot be divorced from another: liberty, equality and fraternity. And how these three are practiced, or how will they remain a trinity, and it is ensured that they are not separated from one another. It is only through justice. So preamble is a beautiful document, and one concept or one idea is intermingled and dependent on the other one. So we need to maintain the dignity of the individual, and dignity can only be maintained by having justice. And until this dignity is maintained in the country, you cannot dream of unity and integrity in the nation. Think about a situation where you have classes being divided on the basis of different sections and different factions and different religions. Can there be a unity and integrity in the nation? No, cannot be. Several of the caste groups, if they feel discriminated within the country, that means dignity has not been provided. The individual dignity has not been provided to those those social groups. Then it will hamper the unity and integrity of the nations. The unity of integrity of the nation is not only limited to religion or race or caste or sex. It also has to pertain to local integrity. Think about the separatist movement for the separate state of Telangana. Does it hurt the national unity in some or the other way? or one of the minister of Congress coming up from the southern state of Tamil Nadu and saying that there shall be a separate country of southern states. This is all the manifestation of divisions within the country, and our constitution tries to maintain the unity and integrity, and this is also reflected in the preamble under the heading fraternity, which says that there shall be to maintain the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. So this is all what is written in the preamble, which is a very exhaustive document, tells about the nature of the constitution, the nature of the state. It also tells about the core constitutional value, the justice, liberty, equality and fraternity. It tells about the source of power and about the enacting date, the 26th of November 1946, on which date this law was passed, on which date the resolution was adopted, the constitution was adopted, enacted by the country in the Constituent Assembly. So I hope you have understood the basic concept related with the preamble. Preamble, again, if we see, it is the identity card, gives direction to the parliamentarians to make law. It tells about the source of power within the country. It tells about the date of enactment of the constitution. It tells about the nature of the state which India is, and it tells about the core constitutional values which is followed within the country. I hope you like this video, and if there is any doubt, you can write in the comment section and ask me. Thank you very much.